Hey Wando and Lucy Beckham students, I'm Katie Miller. Today on ECSN, we got a word with the owner of Home Team BBQ about his new location opening up right across from Wando. Plus, Hot Takes is back with Mr. Sneed and
I just want them to know that there are people out here that can help them if they feel the need to do drugs, because drug addiction is very real.
a father shares his tragic story to Wando students to try and prevent kids from becoming statistics. It's March 16th, 2022, and ECSN starts right now.
Let's do this.
Welcome to the show and thanks for watching. Barbecue is a staple of Southern life. As the weather gets nicer, many of you might be cooking out in your backyard, or you might spend a weekend afternoon at one of Charleston's many barbecue restaurants. One of the most famous of those restaurants is Home Team BBQ. There are several Home Team locations around the area, and a new location will be opening right around the corner from Wando. ECSN reporter Anthony Mulivade caught up with Home Team's owner to talk about the new location on Highway 17.
Barbecue is a foundation of the Southern lifestyle. Barbecue titans have formed in its wake, leading to families across the South being drawn into delicious, savory foods from different restaurants. But one joint in town cooks the familiar smoked meats, but does it in their own style.
We weren't based on a particular region or somebody's grandfather's recipe that was 75 years old. We just cooked what tastes good.
Aaron Siegel owns Home Team BBQ. You've seen their restaurants across the area, downtown, West Ashley, and Sullivan's Island. But soon, Home Team will have a new home in North Mount Pleasant.
We came across the property a couple years ago, right before the pandemic, and some acquaintances of mine bought the property with the intention of us putting a Home Team BBQ here.
For years, though, North Mount Pleasant has been lacking that southern goodness, but worry no longer. It's moving in across Highway 17 from Wando at the old location of the Rusty Rudder.
North Mount Pleasant's kind of our people. I mean, there are a lot of folks that come out to Sullivan's Island, a lot of folks that come downtown. So, ton of families out here, a lot of residential projects, big high school, and so, you know, it's a good market for us.
We got an inside look at the new facility. As Aaron walked our crew through the new location, he says once the work is finished, it's going to look a lot like the other home teams across the area.
A big outdoor space, lots of room for families. Folks out here are looking for a place where they can go hang out and have a good time and get some good food and bring their kids.
Aaron says the big outdoor space is what's going to stand out between the new location and the other spots around the area. It's Aaron's fourth location in Charleston, meaning the Home Team lineup is expanding to a size Aaron never thought of.
We're all trying to get better at certain aspects of the business. You know, when you go from 25 employees to over 600, there are a lot more things to worry about.
And like every other business, COVID took its toll, causing shakeups to the Home Team roster. But Aaron's found younger talent.
During the last couple of years, during the pandemic, because staff has been short, and we have found a lot of success, especially on Sullivan's Island, with high school students from Wando and other places in town. And they're really, really important to us. Some of our best employees have been high school students.
So in the coming months, some of us may have found a new place for a job, but all of us will have found a new option to eat and hang out, which is Aaron's favorite part, the food. And Aaron's favorite food isn't even the famous wings and white sauce.
We kind of did this mismatch of kind of authentic Mexican cuisine and barbecue. And that's really where you see that is in the taco section. And it's fun for us to pair, toasted chili salsas and fresh salsas with barbecue and create those combinations. And I really dig the tacos. So, but my guilty pleasure is the nachos.
Right now, Home Team is still a construction site. Aaron couldn't give us a firm date for when the restaurant will open, but he's shooting for sometime this summer. Reporting for ECSN, I'm Anthony Mulivade.
Thanks, Anthony. Aaron didn't give us an exact date of when the new spot is opening, but they're shooting for sometime this summer. Back at Wando, the theater department is putting on a very special play in just a few short weeks, High School Musical. The play takes place between March 31st and April 2nd. Tickets are $18 for adults and $12 for students. You can purchase your tickets on gofan.co or on the Wando Theater page website.
I'm really excited to just see that house out there full of people and see this stage full of kids just having the time of their lives.
It's been a long 2 years in COVID. So just being able to perform on stage again and making people laugh and having a good time, just what I like to do.
And I feel like everybody's brought their person to life, and it's a beautiful show, and I'm very excited to see it all play out.
While some students are working hard in the performing arts, others are working on a project to blast off into space. Several CAS engineering students won a contest from NASA, and now they get to send a project to the edge of orbit. These students are working on what's basically a pump to get blood out of patients during surgeries in space. Project organizer Ryan Teachman says if a project like this works, then it can make routine surgeries in space much safer.
In space, if there's a surgery happening and someone gets cut, the blood will just sit right there over the incision site, which could make surgeries very difficult, if not impossible, because the surgeon can't see what they're doing, blood can get on the equipment, and it can change a relatively minor operation to something life or death, and we don't want that to happen.
The project will be tested on a Blue Origin rocket in 2023. Until then, students are building the project with the help of NASA employees. With the end of the school year slowly approaching, it's time for underclassmen to think about what courses they want to take next year. Here at the East Cooper CAS, there have been 11 new courses announced for the 2022-2023 school year. There is something new for every academy, and the courses range from pharmacology to game development. Mr. Paul is teaching one of these new courses next year.
I'm teaching one new class, but it's actually two separate classes. It is a skinny that's year-long, but it's separated into two classes, ARV 212 and ARV 217. And they're both dual enrollment classes. They bring together digital photography and digital computer editing with photojournalism. And that's really exciting to bring new things to the CAS and to Wando in general, and I guess Lucy Beckham, so it's exciting.
We at ECSN are very excited to see the East Cooper CAS continue to grow and flourish. If you are curious about the new courses, you can check them out in the Program of Studies located on the East Cooper Center for Advanced Studies website. While the CAS is preparing to offer new courses, Lucy Beckham High School is preparing to have the school's first senior class. Next year will be the first year Beckham has had all 4 grades on its campus.
We are very, very excited to have a full senior class. Of course, any high school wants to have 9th through 12th grade, so we're extremely excited.
Beckham's staff is excited to have a new senior class, but that's also going to come with some challenges. Ms. Dassing says that they expect to have more than 1,700 students next year. The building was designed for 1,500 students. Ms. Dassing says that means teachers might be moving around and classes will likely be held in different locations around campus. We'll have a more in-depth look at this closer to the end of the school year. Right before the start of the regular season, Wando's athletic director, Mark Bookman, invited a guest speaker to talk to athletes and parents. Our Media Technology 2 students were at the event and tell us how one man is on a mission to help kids stay away from drugs.
On February 28th, Wando athletes and parents gathered at the District 2 Stadium to hear from a longtime Charleston sports writer named David Shelton.
I've been a sports writer for 34 years, covering primarily high school athletics and all over the state. So high school athletics are very special to me.
Shelton has made a career covering high school sports, but now he's on a new mission. Instead of covering high school athletes, he's trying to protect them from the dangers of drugs, particularly opioids. He's doing that by visiting high schools all over the state.
I've spoken at Philip Simmons, James Island, Berkeley, Wando. I spoke at Blythewood, which is in Columbia.
Shelton is reaching out to these kids because 2 of his kids turned to drugs. His oldest son, Ryan, died of an overdose in 2014. In a blog post, David said his son kept telling him that the addiction was under control. Instead, it controlled Ryan until the day he died. David, like any other parent, never wanted their kid to turn to drugs.
If you have the mental strength to say no and walk away, you'll be successful, and your family will be thankful.
In 2014, David's family got the worst news possible. His son Ryan died at the age of 26. At that time, David had a younger son named Justin. He took his brother's death really hard. Justin spent his high school years at the baseball field at Canes Bay. Sports can oftentimes be an escape from real problems, but in his blog post, David says he didn't think Justin really got over Ryan's death. He too turned to drugs and ended up becoming addicted to heroin. It was an addiction that Justin couldn't quit.
They didn't want help. They were weak. They refused help. But finding help is easy, but the person that's addicted has to want to do that. They have to want to get that help.
Shelton urges students to simply say no to drugs at all. He knows that facing peer pressure as a young person can be difficult. He believes that there are support groups like families, teachers, and coaches that can come into play.
It's getting harder for today's youth, and I just want them to know that there are people out here that can help them if they feel the need to do drugs, because drug addiction is very real. It's very painful, not only for the drug user, but for those families.
Earlier this year, on January 11th, David lost his second son, Justin. He overdosed when David and his family were getting to the point where they could cope with the loss of Ryan. Tragedy struck again. David doesn't want any other parent to feel the pain that he had to deal with for the last several years.
Because we just have to stop this. We have to put something together to where kids know that they don't have to turn to drugs.
Until that day happens when kids know that there's a better option than drugs, David is changing his mission from telling sports stories to telling his own story.
People are starting to understand the story that I'm trying to tell, and I think it's something that needs to be broadcasted as much as possible.
If you or someone you know is struggling, please don't be afraid to ask for help. Reporting for ECSN, I'm Nicholas Patel.
The topic Shelton shared with these athletes should not be taken lightly, and our hearts go out to Shelton and his family. We at ECSN hope that Wando athletes got a lot out of his appearance. Back here in the ECSN studio, our Hot Takes reporter, Caesar Enquist, was busy again. Today's guest is biomedical science teacher, Mr. Sneed.
My name is Caesar Enquist. Welcome to Hot Takes. Today I'll be interviewing Mr. Sneed. How are you feeling, Mr. Sneed?
I'm very excited.
You're very excited?
Very excited.
Can you introduce yourself to the camera and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, that one? This one?
That one.
That one.
Which one do you think you would pick?
Chipotle's chicken. I think it's better than most. It's an unpopular opinion. I know. It's an unpopular opinion.
I've been told by some people you've had in your classes that you don't want to have children because after teaching you don't want to have children anymore.
No.
So why do you hate kids?
I don't hate kids. And that's being misconstrued.
Yes, it is.
But I do tell them I love kids. Like, I love teaching y'all. But I like to be able to say goodbye at the end of the day. And being a parent is the most selfless thing you can do on this earth. And I'm just too selfish.
You can take it and put it on yours.
This is like a highlight of my life here. How much did Brasini and Fabiano do? Did Brasini and Fabiano do more?
Yeah.
No, they didn't.
Yeah, they did.
Don't egg him on.
They did.
Double down. Okay, I'm gonna regret that.
I'm Caesar Enquist with Hot Takes. Mr. Sneed.
I'm Mr. Sneed. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Be sure to check out the full interview on our ECSN YouTube page. That's all for this episode of ECSN. If you like the show and want to be part of it, scan the code on your screen to complete the application. Once you've applied, make sure to register for Media Technology and Class Choice. If you want to learn more about our show, stop by room L118 and talk with Mr. Fabiano. I'm Katie Miller, signing off for ECSN.